let's look at how for loops work. So a for loop is designed to run a single or multiple lines of code X number of times. X number of times could be 0, 1, 20, or even an infinite number of times. And the structure of a for loop looks like this. For, start, stop, step, with semicolons in between them. Start is where variables initialized. Stop is where the conditions to end the loop are created. Step is what is changes each time the loop iterates. An iteration means it's repeating. Now, let's look at how we can use a for loop to act like a summation function. Summation is where it's adding up a series of numbers together. So I'm going to create two numbers, x and y. X is going to be a random number from 1 to 10. Y is going to be that number plus another random number from 1 to 10. So if x was 5 and y ended up being 4, it would be 14. So it's adding up, sorry, 5 plus 4, 9. It's adding up the two numbers together. So y, by definition, will be larger than x here. And I'll print off x and y together. So we're going to find the sum of the numbers from x to y. So I create a variable sum, set it equal to 0. My start of my for loop starts at x. So I set I, which is when I'm running my for loop on. I set I equal to x. I runs while it's less than or equal to y, and I increase I by 1. And so then inside the for loop, I do sum plus equals I. So it's increasing the sum by I. So if you want to think about what's going on, if x was 5, y was 9, this is doing 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. That's what it's doing. It's adding up all those numbers together. Now note, since I didn't use braces, the for loop only runs the first line of code. And we're going to look at where we can use braces later, and it will run everything in those braces multiple times. Now, let's do another one. Let's find out what x factorial is. Remember that exclamation mark is factorial, so 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So I want to print in the same sort of format. So I'm going to create a variable, I'll call it factorial. I'm going to set it equal to 1. I'm going to print out x factorial equals, and then my for loop's going to run from x to 1, going down by 1. So if x was 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I set factorial times by I, and I have an if statement here. I can put if statements inside for loops. I can even have for loops inside for loops. But here we do this if statement. If I doesn't equal 1, which for most cases won't, because it'll be 5, 4, 3, 2. So it'll print off I and then in times. Else, so if it does equal 1, which is the last time it runs, it'll print I plus an equal sign and then the factorial. So this will print out in this format. All right, so let's run this and let's see if it's doing what we think it's doing. And you can see, so x is 4, y is 13. So this is 4 plus 5 plus 6 all the way to plus 13. 4 factorial. 4 times 3 is 12. Times 2 is 24. Times 1 is 24. And there we go. That is the end of this lesson.